Hello and welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Monday, November the 2nd, the day before the election. My name is Eric Wilkinson. You very well may recognize me from mainstream media where I've talked about the economic data, the geopolitical environment, how that comes in to impact the overall markets with some of my market analysis. I'm going to do the same thing for you folks out there, but I'm going to go a little bit further in these market commentaries and talk about these option strategies I'm implementing into my portfolio based on the assumptions I come up with my market analysis. You guys can follow along in the webinars because we created guidelines to streamline your process in order to find the right strategy. We are not just picking option strategies out of the hat. What we are doing is we are looking at the internals in and around this underlying, and that will lead us to the best option strategy for any given assumption. So please check that out in our roadmap to trading options as we will funnel you down to the right option strategy for your assumptions. All right, so on to the overall markets. We've got across the pond some manufacturing PMIs, which is purchasing managers indexes. This is more forward looking. The flash estimates are the ones that we really normally look at, but something to note there, they pretty much beat and all were above 50, which is expansion. Anything above 50 is expansion with these PMI numbers. So that is good to see. Now moving back over here to the United States, we also got our ISM manufacturing. Now that is our most important data point for the PMI numbers here in the United States. So purchasing managers index, again, anything above 50 is expansion. We got 59.3. That's the highest reading we've seen since December 2018. So really starting to see this come back in the overall economy, which is a good thing despite the fact that we haven't gotten that stimulus check that we were expecting back in like August. That's still on the docket for maybe after the election, obviously after the election now at this point for sure. So we're going to have to see if that comes to fruition. So that number being very good. Construction spending, although did come in a little bit lower than expected at 0.3%, expected to be 1%, and revision to last month's number down quite a bit by about 0.6%. So it was 1.4 before, now it came in at 0.8. Prices paid came in at 65.5, expected to be 60.5, and that again is another high reading that we haven't seen since basically December of 2018 as well. All right, so let's get on to the overall markets. We've gotten crude oil to make a bit of a comeback overnight. We were in the 33 handle, which is where I was talking that I thought we were going to go down to and to test that 33, maybe even trade into the 32 handle, but 33 was basically where I was saying the market was probably looking to go. Well, it did that overnight. The rebound really started happening with this basically $3 rally, almost $3 rally off of those lows, came from those positive PMI numbers, purchasing managers indexes that we got across the pond, and then further got that rally up and running with our manufacturing PMI. Now, we've talked about this a lot. Crude oil goes into the manufacturing sector. As a matter of fact, it's going to be one of the biggest demand drivers of crude oil, and that being said is really what's making this rally. It's not us getting out and driving around for in our cars, although we would obviously like to see those low prices right now especially. It is also a Japanese bank holiday, so we could see slightly lighter than normal volumes here in the United States as well. As for the rest of the week, we do have some more services PMI numbers coming out later on this week, and we also have obviously crude oil inventories again, and some pretty good earnings coming out. So today after the close, we've got PayPal coming out and AMC, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. PayPal, AMC, Lowe's, those are some things I'm going to be looking at trading. But crude oil moving higher today. Also gold futures moving higher today by almost 13, a little better than $13 on the day, but coming up against the 9-day simple moving average, acting as a little bit of resistance there. But again, we do have a nice volume node up here, volume and time nodes up here in and around this 1923 area, which remember is the high that we saw from the Great Recession, and that has acted as a support and resistance, is going to act as a resistance going forward. But something that I think the market has an eye on. We've come off of those based on that stimulus package getting moved or kicked down the road, if you will, kicking the can down the road. So that started giving it a little bit of weakness, but I think we're seeing some strength now. All right, well, bonds up almost 14 ticks on the day, or up 14 ticks on the day, about a half a point here, and testing the 9-day simple moving average again. That is short-term weakness. If we're below it, which we've been last couple of days, that has will be breaking that pattern. Also, if we get a rally above the high that we saw last week on Wednesday right here, that will break this downward trend that we've been seeing with lower lows and lower highs that has caused this market to really get a little overdone, testing that 172 handle earlier this morning. We're starting to see some rebound here. I think that we're going to see this market start pushing back up towards this point of control. It should be, in my eyes, around 178, but the market can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. So I haven't been playing this, to be honest, but I do believe that bonds need to move a little bit higher. That will lower interest rates, kind of spur on some more of this housing, which is basically the only thing we're really seeing happening right now in the markets. All right, VIX coming off a little bit because we're having a bit of a rally here across the board in equities. Now, Friday, we've got a nice little doji here. Now, sometimes that's pretty hard to read on that, but we did bounce off of that 200-day simple moving average, which was a nice coup for the bulls to try and get something done there. Now we're starting to see this confirmation of a move. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through this 2,700, especially before the election. We're going to have to see what happens after the election, how the markets are going to be reacting, but it's going to be a bit of a crazy week with the earnings and the election all really kind of juking this market around. And then we've got the NASDAQ up about 35 points on the day, one of the laggers here, but trying to build a bit of a bottom here. Same chart setup that we saw Thursday and Friday. Usually it makes it look like a bit of a continuation pattern, but today finding a little bit of solid ground underneath us, and E-mini S&Ps moving to the upside quite nicely today. Obviously the tech sector are not doing so well. As a matter of fact, what's probably pulling that NASDAQ down is Amazon. Actually, it was one of the few stocks that were in the red today, so that's probably really what's keeping NASDAQ away from the rally that we're seeing in the Dow Jones and the E-mini S&Ps. As you can see, up a point and a third right now for this market, and making that bottom pattern look quite nice. Now you can see overnight, you know, this was right off the open overnight, but overnight you can see when we started getting the data points from Europe, that's where we started seeing the markets really see some positive moves here, and continuing on with that today throughout the day with our ISM. Those are very good numbers to trade off of because those are forward looking, and those are something that we really like to look at here at Wolfman Options. All right, so a couple of trades that I'm going to be looking at. PayPal after the close today. I'm going to be looking to play PayPal to the upside. I think that a lot of people have been doing some online shopping and transferring money through this. Therefore, I think PayPal will do well. I'm going to play it to the upside, selling some puts. Despite the fact that we've been seeing these markets really get beat up on their forward guidance, they've been coming out with good earnings, so I'm going to continue to try and play that to the upside. Housing, I think, has been doing very well. We've seen that show up in the home sales. Well, other people are sitting at home and they've got this extra money to burn that they haven't been spending going out to dinner and stuff like that, and they're putting that money into their homes. I think that Home Depot, Lowe's, these home improvement stores are going to do well. I'll play them to the upside as well. One that we have, I think, is AMC is what I wanted to show you, and I'm not going to play AMC. It's a penny stock at this point anyway, a couple of dollars, but as you can see here on the lows, I cannot see them making any money. As a matter of fact, anytime I drive by the theaters, I'm looking into the parking lots and they're pretty darn empty. They just can't be making money, and I'm not going to play this to the at all. And then we also had Marathon Oil. or have Marathon Oil coming out this afternoon. I'm going to leave this one. I'm not going to play these. We've seen a real mixed bag in the oil sector with these different oil companies, and I'm just not going to play it because it could go either way, to be honest there. So the only ones I'm going to probably be playing is PayPal and Lowe's to the upside. So check that out. We'll talk about those trades tomorrow in the market commentary. That's all I got for you guys. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I had a fantastic weekend. Massive amounts of meat at a party I was at. Sasquatch Barbecue, check it out. His rubs are really good. Met him this weekend, and he put on a fantastic spread. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. One last thing. That's not all I got for you guys. We do have to talk about our site disclaimer, so please take a moment to go over the disclaimer, as there are risks involved in trading. All right, so if you can't take that, take it easy.